director didn't ask for plain English. He didn't ask for concepts. He asked for legislative specifications. And in the letter that was addressed to you, Mr. Chairman, on September 16th, he said, important caveats regarding this preliminary analysis. There are several reasons why the preliminary analysis that is provided in this letter and its attachments does not constitute a comprehensive cost estimate for the proposal. So it gets back to the crux of the question. He didn't say insignificant caveats, he said important caveats. And he said does not constitute a comprehensive cost estimate for the proposal. He couldn't have been more clear. In fact, it seems to me that he was very precise in what he was requesting of us, and at least being very specific about the fact that he couldn't give us a final number because he did not have the legislative language. It wasn't conceptual language. It wasn't plain English language. He said they could have a significant effect on the analysis. Now, the CBO, as we all know, is the final arbiter of costs. We rely on the CBO. The Finance Committee relies on the CBO in determining the true cost of this legislation. So I don't understand the hesitancy or the reluctance, or no one's saying we shouldn't have conceptual language, but CBO must have the legislative language, and that's what this is all about. And I truly do not understand the skepticism about this request. I don't understand the reluctance, nor do I understand the resistance. This is about doing our jobs. If it takes 2 more weeks, it takes 2 more weeks. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars in the final analysis. I do not understand it. What is the rush? What is happening in 2 weeks? If it takes the CBO director, who I thought was abundantly clear yesterday that it might take 2 weeks, maybe it'll take less, maybe it'll take more. Is there something happening in 2 weeks that we cannot wait? Is it the Columbus Day recess? What is it? Because I'm not quite clear. I want to do my job. And our job is to sit here and do it as long as it takes. And however hard it is, we better sit here. And frankly, maybe we ought to get accustomed to reading legislative language. When I started in the state legislature back in the 1970s, we did read the legislative language because we knew it mattered. And perhaps we ought to return to that tradition, whether it's this committee or the entire United States Congress. But we ought to be very familiar about what we do. And if the CBO director is asking for legislative language, then we ought to give it to him. And we ought to know those true numbers. I want to be able to know that before I vote on this bill in the Finance Committee. That's the bottom line here. It's not what happens later, and not what happens in the merger. We'll have to deal with that too, and we'll want to know those numbers. And maybe it's because we don't have a requirement to balance the budget. States do, governors do, state legislatures do. Maybe we don't think it matters. But I want to know what the final number is on any bill that I vote on in this committee, and we should know it every step of the way. There's no rationality other than this one. It's getting the number right with the right language. And if the CBO director says he needs it for the true cost and the comprehensive cost, which tells me all of the costs, then that should get our attention.